we need to talk about Harry. At this point, former friends of Prince Harry are concerned because he's not acting like himself. Old friends are pointing out that the victim mentality isn't doing Harry any favors, and he's nothing like the person they used to know. Hi friends, welcome to the King YouTube channel. You know what they say, new friends are like silver, but old friends are like gold. And unfortunately for Prince Harry, he's basically alienated most of the old friends he used to have, all thanks to that narcissistic witch. He had to marry Meghan Markle. You see, immediately when they first got together, Meghan saw that Harry's friends and family were a real threat to her control. So step by step, she carefully alienated him from everybody who used to care about him, you know? And the truth is, they probably do still care about Harry, but at this point in time, he has become an entirely different person. I understand it's impossible to have a relationship with somebody when you don't even recognize them anymore. It's not only the royal family. Harry has had this falling out with basically all his old friends he used to enjoy spending time with. Now say they don't really speak anymore. They certainly never get to spend time together. Since Harry basically refuses to spend any length of time in England, no matter what we may feel about Harry and what he's done to his family, it is a tragic. And now, according to an exclusive in the Mirror, an old friend of Harry's has written a damning letter. Let's see what he has to say. According to a tool writing for the Mirror, Prince Harry has been warned against portraying himself as a victim, with one former friend saying he is the furthest thing from a victim. Well, without even seeing the full contents of the letter, I can already tell this friend is trying to help Harry. I mean, Laugh Harry is the furthest thing from a victim. And it's really insulting and offensive that he walks around acting like his life has been so difficult. He's been so hard done by. Yes, Harry did suffer an unspeakable tragedy when his mother died when he was only a boy. But still, it's time to move on. I mean, all of us have past traumas, but guess what? We still have to live our lives. We can't walk around whining about being victims and expecting everybody to feel sorry for us. So this letter is coming from a Mr. Edward Charles Featherstone. But that's not his real name. That's just a pseudonym that was chosen by him. Apparently, he and Harry used to play polo together. And so he is saying that Harry is nothing like the man I met. He spoke exclusively with Mirror. And he said that Harry's memoir was disappointing because it portrayed him as being the victim when he's the furthest thing from a victim. God, this obsession with being a victim is a part of modern society that I absolutely despise. I think it's all part of the woke movement. You see, instead of being strong and being a survivor, it's a lot better to be a victim and blame all your problems on somebody else. Most of us at some point in our lives, we have been victimized by somebody or something. I know I certainly have. But guess what? I choose to describe myself as a survivor. I'm not going to let that experience define who I am. Instead, I have moved on with my life. I look forward to the future, and I'm stronger now than I ever was before. This is the way that I was raised. My parents taught me that what does not kill you makes you stronger. And I think most of you were raised that way too. So I ask myself a lot, what has happened to our society? Why do we have people like Harry and Mac? And acting like being a victim is the best thing in the world. And this is what we should all aspire to be. So according to the Mirror, Edward has said that he's written a letter to Harry to encourage him to change his ways. He explained it really just says, get over yourself. You're not a victim, and you are part of a noble cause as the torchbearer of the Invictus. And what you're doing now and what you're doing to your family is, I think, inappropriate. So apparently, Edward has written a new book called The Rude Beginning. And he still has not published the letter, but he says someday he hopes he can make it public. He said, quote, I've written a letter to him, which at some stage I will publish. Whether I do it low-key on the H2Z website or the Rude Chronicles website, or whether I do it slightly more upbeat and take a page in the LA Times remains to be seen. But at some point, I will probably publish that letter. And this is exactly the kind of thing that Harry needs to hear. Of course, we have no idea if it's going to bring him back down to earth and convince him to change his ways. But still, I'm glad that at least this old friend of Harry's is willing to try. And, the sad thing is we have no idea how many of Harry's old friends have tried to reach out to him, tried to help him, tried to tell him that the way he's going about things is not good for him or anybody else. But the thing is, Harry is so wrapped around Meghan's little finger that he probably doesn't listen to anybody. Doesn't. He certainly didn't listen to his family when they told him he needed to take his time with Meghan. So why exactly should we believe that now all of a sudden he's going to listen? And I understand very much how Harry's family members and how his friends feel right now. I mean, it is the worst feeling in the worst to see somebody you love stuck in this abusive, narcissistic relationship and also addicted to drugs. And all too often, these two problems go hand in hand. And this is something we have talked about before. Meghan and Doria certainly use Harry's drug addiction against him. It makes him much more malleable. It makes him easier to control if he is not even in his right mind. I mean, if he's somewhere in outer space just floating around, he'll basically do whatever they tell him to. And that is what we have seen happen over the past however many years since they got married. What it was 2018. And you can tell by Harry's appearance, he is not well. I mean, he looks so disheveled whenever we see him out and about. He looks like he has no idea what is going on, or he's absolutely miserable to be wherever it is Meghan has dragged him to. It's seriously unhealthy and he needs help. But it's also true that Harry himself has to decide that he needs help. I've gone through it with my family members. I've gone through it with friends. And let me tell you, it's one of the hardest things I've ever had to watch. Somebody basically self-destruct thanks to an abusive partner and a drug addiction. And you can't do anything to help them until they themselves are ready to accept help. So I hope that Harry's listening to his friends right now. I hope that he's listening to his family, but something tells me he is not. Because who even knows if he's able to get the message? And so many relationships like this, the abusive partner ends up having complete control over their victims, email, their phone, basically everything. They've got to keep that control to keep them there. You see, until Meghan is ready to let go of him, I don't think she's going to let Harry escape. So maybe this Edward Charles Featherstone will be able to get through to Harry, but something tells me no. Something tells me we're not going to see any changes coming from Harry because, again, he has got to be ready to make those changes. According to The Mirror, Edward Featherstone's book is going to tell the story of his journey from being sent to boarding school at the age of 6 to playing polo and eventually joining the Air Force as a combat helicopter pilot. Of course, Harry's own books fair offered an account of life behind palace walls. I certainly hope this new book, though, by this Edward guy, The Rude Chronicles, is a bit more honest than Harry's book. One thing I keep on going back to in my head as well is the look on Harry's face when they were being shown to their seats in the 8th row at that movie theater in Kingston, Jamaica, where they were sad with the Hoi Palo. They didn't get to sit there with the VIPs. That was a different screening room. If nothing else showed Harry how far he has fallen, that moment should have opened his eyes. I mean, he stopped dead in his track. He didn't even want to go sit down. And according to some lip readers and other people on the internet, he actually said to Meghan, "They're taking pictures of us." I think that Harry was really bothered by that whole appearance. Meghan, on the other hand, "Oh, she looked happy to be there because, well, she was getting her photo taken, and that's all she really cares about. The only thing left for Harry to do is just wake up and smell the coffee. Realize that Meghan has ruined his life and do whatever he has to do to get far, far away from her, and maybe then he would have a chance at happiness. And you, what do you think of this message that Harry's old friend is sending? Kim, do you think he's going to listen? Or do you think Meghan has them so brainwashed it's impossible for him to listen to anybody except her? Let me know what you think below in the comment section. As always, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and share it with anybody else who would appreciate it too. And don't forget to click that subscribe button so that you get all the updates from the King YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. You have a great day, and I'll be back to see you in